Please proceed.
So we're closing out the 125th National Business League Conference presented by Traffic Sales and Profit. Friends of the African Union, we had attended online in this conference powered by AHIABGA in Atlanta, Georgia, but it kicked off on the 20th of August in Tuskegee. And one of the things is the follow-up that we're going to be doing is around education. And in that education work, we are going to be working with all of our partners to bring it to the table. Collins, you're on about corporate social responsibility. And why don't you tell people what you have set up in Nigeria right now?
Hello. Greetings.
Yes, Collins. Yes, you're on.
Yes, thank you very much for this really wonderful opportunity. And I bring you peace and blessings from Nigeria. And thank you very much for representing all of us, even those of us on the motherland. May the peace and blessings of Almighty God be with you. Thank you for the great job always, Mr. Chairman. So
Please take time to first introduce yourself, your company, etc. For the audience that does not know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So my name is Collins Nnabugwu. I am based off of Abuja, Nigeria, and I am the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Cyber Future Academy, an ed tech consulting company. We've been in existence since 2018, focusing on addressing the United Nations SDGs, especially SDGs number 4, which focuses on access to quality, affordable education for all by the year 2030. So in the age of AI, from 2022, we transitioned to being an AI-powered consulting firm, also focusing on EdTech. We've done a couple of programs in the government policy space. The first Nigeria ICT Week 2022 was our flagship project with the National Assembly of Nigeria, working in partnership with the House of Representatives Committee on ICT, Cybersecurity, and Digital Economy at the time. And currently we have our second project. This will be our third project, actually. We have a second one, which is about to lift off, which is on climate change, where we are partnering also, we're consulting, right, with the Presidency, Office of Community Engagement in the Presidency. We have programs coming up in late 2025. But currently, our third project is underway, which is our partnership with the House of Representatives Committee on Corporate Social Responsibility, CSR. So we have the CSR for Dev initiative, a flagship initiative we have designed from in-house and brought it to the government. They endorsed it, and currently we have scaled through endorsements from the Ministry of Communication, Innovation, and Digital Economy, and we also have endorsement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who has now currently given us their platform, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to convene the first CSR, or rather the first diplomatic CSR roundtable, which we have just designed, and it will hold on the 27th at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs conference room. And we also, on that day, will be signing an MOU, a tripartite MOU, where our company, Cyber Future Academy, alongside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the House of Representatives of Nigeria, will be signing a tripartite agreement to formalize actually this roundtable, this diplomatic CSR roundtable, and make it an annual event beyond 2025. And in that diplomatic CSR roundtable. It's actually a grand agenda strategy for us to unveil the Nigeria CSR Fund, which is a fund that would drive and finance some of the components in the CSR for Dev initiative. Some of those components include one, the CSR for Dev AI Innovation Center, which we have a blueprint and a prototype to achieve that AI journey for Nigeria. Another component is the Nigeria CSR Summit and Awards, a flagship project which we have also embedded as an end-to-end product of spin product of the CSR for Dev initiative. Then we have the Nigeria CSR Journal, which is also currently in production. Then we have Nigeria CSR Weekly, will be a radio and TV program that runs weekly on across 6 radio and TV stations in Nigeria, network stations, syndicated. Then we have the Nigeria CSR Institute, which is more of a policy think tank, training and certifying CSR personnel across Nigeria. And just a little bit of a background of CSR practice in Nigeria. So this is the first time that Nigerian government will be paying attention to the CSR space. This committee in the House of Representatives was created 2 years ago in the current administration. So it's just 2 years old. And there's a flagship motion, a bill that is currently in the Senate, which was proposed by the chairman of this committee. It is the Nigeria CSR Regulation Bill. That bill seeks to regulate, formalize, and incentivize the CSR space by one, suggesting for, rather moving a motion, right, for every corporate organization registered in Nigeria to put down 3% of their annual revenue, income before tax, rather, to CSR activities in Nigeria. But we currently are launching the CSR Fund, where we're calling on embassies and development partners to come, to come and participate in the unveiling and be able to see values, like I just mentioned, the components of the CSR for Dev initiative. And so the fund will be able, it's the instrument that will fund or finance or drive those initiatives. So this is where we are currently, and we have been in partnership with the Friends of African Union. Mr. Chairman Hershel Daniels over the years has been very supportive and has been really, really forward-driven in his leadership approach, always looking out for the brighter future of Nigeria and motherland. And I believe that with the associates or associations that the FAU is linked with, and all the great, wonderful strategies and strategy missions and sessions that we've held over the years, I believe that those have culminated to this point where we can actually put action to words and have our boots on the ground, fold our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and make impact on motherland Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Collins. And I want everybody to understand that when we got together with Cyber Future Academy, that Friends of the African Union had previously signed a memorandum of understanding around the United States Africa Business Week conference, which the 8th version of which will be held September 22nd and 23rd. And so it is our intention in New York, okay, at the Hilton across from the United Nations. And so it is our intention to launch from here on the 27th. Is, as I said to Collins, is that signing a new Cyber Future Academy agreement with Friends of the African Union and our national Black business, National Alliance for Black Business, as we created the Global Compact for Black Business out of this conference that we just had with 2,300 people in Atlanta, Georgia. And that we have the Tuskegee Declaration. But now, in terms of the launch of the business aspect of this, corporate social responsibility, as I was explaining to a leader here in America at the conference last night, is that most people don't have an idea of what corporate social responsibility means in a global sense, much let alone in America, where you're facing an administration that has said it wants to set a new narrative from day one and anti-DEI. And most people take anti-DEI means that there is no focus that is acceptable to the administration around DEI, okay, and they mix it up with corporate social responsibility. And so I had to explain that in America, corporate social responsibility is written into statutory law, and that Friends of the African Union started out around corporate social responsibility in statutory law because of the Treaty of 1885 that set the mode for the Africa we see now, as well as the Treaty of 1890 around slavery and firearms in the nations that we see now, that became American law in 1930. And in 2012, when Friends of the African Union was spun off from my then company and as an unincorporated Ohio association, and later in joint venture with the Cincinnati Empowerment Corporation in 2018, to form Friends of the African Union Global Operations Center. That we are in a unique position in two major countries in Africa with this administration, Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, two giants. And that in the DRC on June 27th, the United States witnessed an agreement between the DRC and Rwanda that set a model that was acceptable to putting such an agreement together. And now in Nigeria, with corporate social responsibility and the understanding of that in American law around the Community Reinvestment Act, and our experience in creating $118 billion worth of community benefit agreements with US Federal Reserve banks, that is documented. And one of those agreements now in force right now. And that all that work is already in the United States government, State Department, in the United Nations Human Rights Council and Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. We can now bring all that work focused to Nigeria to say to the Nigerian government that we can create a revenue anticipation note through the United States, that revenue anticipation note would be creating a 75-year agreement that would create a $400 billion a year, 75-year financial instrument called the African dollar, that would be created under the Genius Act and One Big Beautiful Bill Act and other statutory law, as I mentioned, such as the Berlin Treaty of 1885 and 1890. That would create for Nigeria, like for the DRC, a financial instrument, in this case, a 75-year, $5 billion a year revenue anticipation note that would create a $375 billion financial instrument. Now, the underwriters of this financial instrument would be expected to put forth $6 billion, $5 billion of which will be held in escrow with the lawyers, and $1 billion in the project development. It's starting out with the original 28 million of that. Of that 28 million, 10 million of it would be in that MOU that Collins talked about in the creation in the Institute for creating 10,000 Nigerian AI in a program of action, which he's coming to the table on Tuesday, whether we do this or not on our side of the table. But out of that 28 million, what we would be saying to the US government is that we would match the 28 million for the second US Africa Leaders Summit. And that the focus of that Leaders Summit, the two countries, Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the other countries that would accept the invitation to do the revenue anticipation note based on the model that I'm talking about to you for Nigeria that we're publishing tomorrow. See, understand in this model is that we're creating, in that model from the DRC, allows us as American citizens, under the original memorandum of understanding with Cyber Future Academy that was signed around the US Africa Business Week of September 22nd and 23rd in New York. Based on that model, okay, for the multimedia production of the US Africa Leaders Summit 2, and the following year for the Mayor's Summit. There's already an allocation of 28 million, and what we're saying to the underwriters is that you put up 28 million in September, in the first week in September, and we'll match then, okay, that which would go on in the US government in an unsolicited proposal using Federal Acquisition Regulations 15.6, based on the response to President Trump's in that we submitted for the Black Folks Plan update on January 27th, 2020, and in which case the Secretary of State responded on November 12th through the unsolicited proposal management of the State Department for our submission. And now we would give an update in which we would say the developers would be in a joint venture. And in that joint venture, in this financial instrument under the Genius Act called the African dollar, that we would put in place a revenue anticipation of $65 billion a year for Nigeria. But at the end of the day, the costs, including the 22.5 billion for the funds at the current interest rates, plus an insurance payment of 525 million a year, that when it's all said and done with the project administrative fueled by FAU Ed Corp, a New York corporation that is being implemented with C7 ISR3 embedded into it. And that's a project that we're putting together with Glink and my company, who's the licensor of the Black Folks Plan to Friends of the African Union. And that project administration when you subtract everything, you end up from that $65 billion, your annual funding that's on the table is $34.6 billion. Now, you do this work with the understanding of the states of Nigeria, the federal district, and you do the work with the understanding that out of the funds that you're going to create a foreign direct investment from Nigeria to the United States each year of $3.5 billion. Because in this model is done as the development group Friends of the African Union Nigeria Bureau, which is 51% made up of Americans. And those Americans may be Americans of Nigerian descent, as well as equity from the federal government of Nigeria, most likely through the innovation, as Colin said, through the innovation and foreign ministry, as they would so choose to do so. Now, this is on the basis of a memorandum of understanding that the United States of America has previously done under this administration with the Federal Republic of Korea. See, we're not doing something that has not already not been done. What we're doing is we're bringing together work that is on record that we started with the African dollar that's part of the STCs of the African Union, or part of the work that we submitted to the United Nations for the fourth round of financing for development as part of the United States Compact for Democracy with a Just Economy. But all this work is the culmination of work that we started under Jonathan Goodluck, the previous president of Nigeria. And as I mentioned to you, we moved forward. Nigeria is only the second country that we did work in the United Nations Universal Periodic Review of Nations. We've done 2 nations, the United States and Nigeria. So in terms of the update and the embedding this, in terms of going to the corporate social responsibility based on the Corporate Social Responsibility Act of Nigeria, this lets us put together a public-private partnership right now, if the government so agrees. And so thereby is able to fund its aspirations in 2027 when they look to hold COP32. Now, that's not something that the United States buys into because we withdrew from climate change. But it's something that's very important in the program that we have in place because of the over 100 years of environmental degradation from British Petroleum and the other companies who have raised oil from Nigeria and not gave a whit about the environmental damage that they caused. And as important for that,
I can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
yes, I'm sorry, I'm trying to end a call. I'm sorry. Okay, Kenya keeps trying to call in on the WhatsApp, not on the Zoom. But we worked with Cyber Future Academy earlier with as an architecture engineering firm. And one of the things that we put together for Nigeria was to address this issue of the environmental degradation that has happened in over 100 years in Nigeria. And so one of the great things that happened in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is in the DRC that the administration said in subsection 6 of its witness of the agreement, peace agreement between the DRC and Rwanda, is that we as private sector can shape an agreement that in that agreement, that as long as it aligns with US policy of America first, that the US government will make its resources, as it said at the conference today at 9:45 in the State Department, in partnerships. If you can show that your program is going to benefit America, and again, heard me clearly when I said that we are creating for the first time from Africa in this, in Nigeria as well as DRC, a foreign direct investment in the United States that in this case, over 75 years, $3.5 billion a year. That is a major investment. And we can show that it's invested in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act opportunity zone areas. So we're using all the statutory law and works that were not there last year. And so we're using, though, those laws that were there last year, and we're showing them how it can be done. Now, in this, let me be clear that the environmental remediation that we're proposing in this to address the 100 years is something that our administration in America is not interested in. That's not a primary focus of them. But they said that if you have that as an issue, so be it. So I'll stop there and take any questions. First, starting with Collins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for all the context and history and the importance and significance of all that. I definitely appreciate. And I do not have so much questions, but rather to say that we are open and ready, willing, and able to work with you and your people. We're here and we welcome you on board. We represent you. We are looking up to you, not just me, but the entire team and the entire people of Nigeria. Looking up to you. I see your screen sharing. Yes, we've got really great people that have raised their hand to come participate on the 27th, including the Embassy of China, who is eager to do partnerships, and we believe that they would also be contributing in some areas, especially in infrastructure. But then America also needs to step up, and
that's why we're recording this, because that step up, as the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and the version of that is the Buckeye Black Chamber of Commerce. So that's our version. That's stepping up like the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. And I want people to understand that what Collins has done, he has the Embassy of Mexico that's
Correct.
going to be there, the High Commission from India, which has an
Correct.
African program in
Right.
place. All right.
Right.
The British Council is there,
Correct.
as well as a digital payment system.
It is
And
the biggest. That digital, you need to understand. Just pause right there. This is OPay. You need to Google. They are in every home, in every street, in every phone, in every street corner, in every bus stop, and everywhere. They are collecting data. They are serving the people, the underserved. This is the largest undocumented CSR initiative, I'll tell you, in the whole world, because you are banking the people who never thought that banking was possible from a mobile phone using a USSD code. They have the largest merchant agent network in this country, serving 250 million people. So right here, we've been in strategic discussions with them because we want to get access to that data that they are supercharging every second of the day, 24 hours. And so we have the CSR manager and the director of partnerships coming on board to witness and possibly we're going to be getting into partnerships with them. Okay. Then we have maybe you can keep going.
all
The
right, you
bank,
have Guaranteed Trust Bank.
correct. Also, we're exploring partnerships with them.
And so you also have the network supplier MTN.
Yeah, it's the largest telecom provider in Nigeria from South Africa.
and and you have from the United Nations Development. Okay, you have the country
Okay.
program manager, who's
Right. And
okay,
we have advanced discussions with the UNDP. We've been working around to see how exactly we need to partner because they have a similar project, a similar model also that they have already started deploying across Nigeria. And it so happens that our ideas and concept notes, I mean, the proof of concept resonate. So they're not only coming in on board as a financial partner, no, but technical partner. And we can ride on top of their back of the strength that they have putting their imprint on our work will also give it a lot of value.
yeah, and it's also good that we've already submitted to the fourth round of financing for development, which was just held in Spain. So our model, the United States Compact for Democracy with a Just Economy, was the first time that there was put on the table a BIPOC model, okay, driven by a Black folks plan with indigenous people, people of color, and allied white folk. Now, the key to that, as I mentioned to you earlier, folks, is that Friends of the African Union in the United States, in the Federal Reserve banks, was a signature to $118 billion worth of community benefit agreements under the Community Reinvestment Act. And we're using the $88 billion PNC agreement as our model because we can show one, we're a signature to it. Two, we can give people the write up of the agreement, the 17-page write up in the agreement for its implementation. And three, PNC is ready to negotiate a new round because this round, this $88 billion round, ends in December. And so we're saying to them, don't you want to be part of the $375 billion Nigerian round? Okay, based off of this work, and that we can set a program of action with what the work that Cyber Future Academy has put in place based on the standards in terms of this next company that the whole Traders Association, so that this work that Cyber Future Academy has been bringing to the table with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the work that they've been putting together.
That's correct. And so you have the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, which is a very, very large network, of cooperative market traders association. I needed to point out another partnership that we are seriously exploring, which is with Air Peace. Air Peace Airlines is Nigeria's #1 indigenous airline air carrier. Airpiece. So we have been in advanced strategic discussions with them. One is to be the official carrier for our international legislative tours when we go on legislative exchange programs. So being the official carrier would give us some leverage in terms of in the economic considerations. Also, we are having a discussion with the Airpeace airline because they have the largest fleet across local domestic routes, of course, regional and international routes as well. For us to use their network to distribute the Nigeria CSR Journal, so that on every Airpeace airline, the headdress on their lounge in the in-flight, they're gonna have our magazine handy for every passenger. So we have that discussion ongoing, and we're going to need the data as to know the quantity of production and the terms of distribution. So these are some of the aspects that we are also exploring. We have from the presidency of Nigeria also our very own senior special assistant to the president on community engagement will also be at the round table. And we have a representation from the central bank governor of Nigeria who would have been at the event, but not in the country, but he will have representation. We also
Yeah,
have
he's traveling with the president right now.
in Japan right now, correct?
And
Yes.
the secretary to the government of the Federation has been one of your long-term supporters of Cyber Future Academy.
Right. And this time around, he's going to be giving a goodwill message at the roundtable, and we're grateful for that.
And so, for when we was talking about, well, earlier when he was talking about the central bank, what we're bringing to the table from the Black Folks Plan of South Carolina is the Boeing and the airline. Okay, so Nigeria actually is going to be the first country that we are focused on that. We spoke to the U.S. Export-Import Bank, who was at the National Black Business Conference, and so we'll carry that. We'll have that conversation. But yeah, I did bring it up, Collins, about them buying. Being able to buy Boeing and Lockheed aircraft, okay, as needed for your airline partner and with U.S. financing. Okay, so
yes, that's great. Then my question just will be around the central bank, Mr. Hershel, and I think that I would need also some of your colleagues, associates here, to also come through in in the intervention.
yeah,
So what would you all are in America? I'm in Nigeria. The important thing to state here to highlight actually is that there's a really great window opening now for us to engage with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
yeah. So this is what
That,
I see. Your
okay.
company and my company, okay, entering into a joint venture agreement on our model. And like I said, I thought I was going to be able to get it to you today, but I definitely will be getting it, and we'll have a follow up tomorrow on that. Okay, so I did do checking with the delegation that came in to the conference from Nigeria, and I think we can put a good deal together. But I'll talk to you offline on that tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Hershel,
Yes.
if I may, I'd like to share the screen briefly.
All right.
Collins, this is Andrew Williams Jr. I've been involved
Greetings,
with Hershel.
Anthony.
Greetings. I've been involved with Hershel since 2012, even before founding of the Friends of the African Union. I head up the Bermuda Americas Bureau. However, I do wear other hats. One of those hats is as president of the 5 Points Youth Foundation here in Los Angeles, and we're a member of the United Nations Global Compact. In the chat, I put information that I'd like you to take a look at. It is Abuja, Nigeria, that is the headquarters for the entire Africa region for the United Nations Global Compact. But more importantly, as a member of the United Nations Global Compact, I can open doors through my membership. Even though we're a small company, I can open doors for this collaboration between Hershel and you, particularly with the CFO Task Force. If you look in the chat, the CFO Task Force, which stands for, of course, Chief Financial Officer Task Force, they're focused specifically on the Sustainable Development Goals, where you've all played a major role. They're estimating that $3 to $5 trillion is required. But these CFO members represent over $1.3 trillion of capital. So I'm suggesting that in addition to everything else you're doing, we simply establish MOUs between our joint companies and then approach the CFO task force with accomplishing the objectives that you have. We're in the last 5 years of this decade of action for the Sustainable Development Goals. So I believe, Collins, we can open up major financial doors for you just by taking advantage of this political opportunity that we have in front of us. So Hershel, let's talk about this offline.
Yes, yes, we will. And so one of the things that we did in the United States Compact, okay, for democracy uh, with a just economy is embed into it our work in 2023 around the Mending Goals, which build upon the United Nations SDGs, addressing key areas where the SDGs have been criticized as lacking focus, particularly around racial justice and equality. And so using the unmet hierarchy of needs within the global African community, such as access to clean water, food, education, and economic opportunities, the Mending Goals dismantle systematic barriers in a more inclusive society. According to Eric Fears of J2RL, a business development company collaborating with Friends of the African Union to bridge the gap between Africa and the United States, more than just a recognition of these challenges, the Mending Goals aim to dismantle historic systematic barriers and foster a more inclusive society characterized by a hashtag just economy. By addressing these unmet goals, we aspire, FAU, his company, and allies in the National Alliance for Black Business, to address these unmet needs. And as we aspire as individuals and in business to enhance community resilience and promote sustainable progress toward prosperity, that we understand that working together, as we said in the Tuskegee Declaration of 2025, Ubuntu, that we can work together because we understand in that philosophy, 1+1 in this case could equal 100. And we, as Andrew said, Andrew was tasked it in the FAU universe over a decade ago to be part of the United Nations corporate responsibility in terms of that, and has set up the infrastructure that the three of us will have that discussion on tomorrow. Okay, with that being said, I'll take any additional questions that anybody may have. All right. Not seeing any, not hearing any. I don't want to take your time because it's valuable. You can't get it back. Okay. And with that, we now wrap up this section of the 125th National Business Conference, National Black Business Conference of the National Business League. Now, that work that we're saying that we are doing, okay, is a year-long work to the 126th conference. And in that work, okay, and during that period, we will be publishing tomorrow. We will publish tomorrow our timeline and work over the next year. Thank you for your time. Break it down, Andrew.